What is going on, guys? Welcome to another market update. As usual, let's get straight to the charts. So, I was talking about this potential liquidity zone at 114k or so in the last video on my personal channel, and speculated that we could create a bear trap retesting those levels. That is exactly what we got. As of right now, we are above this potential bull flag formation. A fake out below a symmetrical triangle formation would be one way to read it. Or you could just interpret this as a downward sloping bull flag with the shape of a falling wedge. Either way, the formation is as bullish as it gets. We just don't know yet whether we will get an imminent breakout of the pattern or stay inside of it for a while longer. We just need to see a confirmation of a breakout above this line over here before we get overly bullish. As mentioned before, the potential technical target of this formation could bring us all the way into the mid 130k region, which would result in another massive boost to our portfolios. Now let's look at the power law indicators to find some more clarity. Let's start with the Bitcoin power law bands. So we're now well above this median power law over here, which is very good, and we also need to continue with this trend for the next months. No more sideways nonsense anymore. Otherwise, if we're just gonna start with some kind of new sideways consolidation period here, we wouldn't have the time anymore to reach the top when we're supposed to reach it. So things should pick up some steam here pretty soon. Let's continue with the log graph, and we're also above the median power law line over here. We only really need to go up by less than one trend deviation line over here to reach our projected top, which isn't unrealistic. Just look at what Bitcoin did over here. We went up by 2 in a very short period. Next to the Bitcoin power law clock. It's currently 10:42, and as you can see, the price is about to cross below this orange projection line over here. The red line is well below this orange line at this point, which indicates the average. But once the price reaches the orange line, it will most likely be the actual top. That's when we think that the price will actually catch up to the orange line, because that will probably line up with the mania phase where things go super exponential. Next to the detrended oscillator relative to price. So it's pretty interesting because we're also building a bull flag over here in this brown, dark orangish color zone over here. And we think that once this bull flag breaks to the upside, that's when we'll actually reach this bright orange color over here, which indicates a very overvalued Bitcoin. So right now is the last time to buy below this orange line when things get very pricey. Next to our local Hurst exponent. And as you can see, the line is continuing to go to the upside over here, which is very healthy, because we still have a lot of room to go. The resistance is usually at these orange and red areas over here. So things are looking very good over here. Now let's see what Minotaur is up to. And as you can see, we had another purchase over here, which lowered our average entry price. This sideways consolidation area here was really boring, and understandably some people were getting pretty upset because their newly set up bot wasn't really taking any trades, which is completely normal because the base settings of the bot have a pretty high take profit percentage of around 7% with a 2% trailing stop. So the bot cannot really do much in ranges like these, even though it is still very profitable in the long term. It's just that you do occasionally get these sideways consolidation areas where the bot is taking a little break. Of course, there's also the possibility of using the scalping bot, which can even take advantage of these 1% moves. But overall, when you look at this from a long-term perspective, the base settings are even more profitable. When looking at our 10k Bybit bot, we can see that the bot is in a $9 profit right now. The average entry price is down over here, and the bot will try to exit at 123,000 or so. Now let's get to the news. First up, we have a pretty funny and telling article. A survey found that a fifth of the Americans who hold no cryptocurrencies plan to buy or use it by the end of the year. The National Cryptocurrency Association survey found that 1 in 2 people who want to learn more about crypto are worried they've missed the boat. What else will most likely happen by the end of the year, guys? That's right, Bitcoin's top. So the time-old adage of uninformed investors being the exit liquidity for whales to dump on is just about to be true again. Right now, 1/5 of no-coiners are interested, but this will probably turn into an even larger fraction of the population once we get closer to the top. As shown in my previous video, Bitcoin search interest finally started increasing again after months of complete disinterest. This will most likely continue to increase at an exponential rate, right until the top. We also have Strategy continuing to gobble up the Bitcoin supply by buying 6,220 more BTC after the passing of the Pro-Crypto Genius Act, signaling continued institutional conviction in Bitcoin. This is great and will make his company ridiculously wealthy in the long term, but I'm just wondering whether Saylor also has some sort of exit strategy or risk management system for when the market reverses. Or will he be okay with his company's valuation crashing by 70% or more next year? He has gone through the ringer like this before, so he should at least know what to expect. At the very least, it will be wise to stop or reduce buying once we get closer to 200k in order to build up some dry powder for the next bottom and get much more bang for the buck. Finally, for our last piece of news, we have data on just how much crypto has been stolen this year so far, at least the amount that can be publicly tracked. Crypto thefts in 2025 had already crossed $2.17 billion before last week's $44 million CoinDCX hack, underlining relentless cyber threat escalation in the digital currency world, according to the latest data. Blockchain analytics platform Chainalysis 2025 Crypto Crime Mid-Year Update says that over 2.17 billion was stolen from cryptocurrency services so far in 2025, and this year is more devastating than the entirety of 2024. It's pretty crazy that 1.5 billion of this was from the Bybit hack alone, and they were still able to take the beating without touching customer funds. Things are pretty different compared to the days of Mt. Gox. By the end of 2025, 17% more value had been stolen year to date than in 2022, previously the worst year on record. The more Bitcoin and other crypto increase in value, the more nefarious people will put effort into stealing it. Cold storage is always the best security solution, but if you have to use centralized exchanges for trading or other purposes, make sure they also utilize cold storage and have emergency funds for theft. Now, back to the charts. Let's start with the DXY versus Bitcoin, and as you can see, the dollar has been grinding down right toward our target that we've had here for many months at this point. And Bitcoin is just continuing to go to new highs. This inverse correlation will continue until the end of the year at the very least, and then things will probably reverse again. The dollar will stop pumping and Bitcoin will start crashing, narrowing the gap over here. The CME chart is a little bit worrying because we didn't really fill this gap over here, but we don't really need to fill them either. Just bear in mind that it's a possibility if the bears want to pull off some kind of last hurrah over here, then it's a possibility that we could actually go down there again, but I'm not really betting on it. Next, let's talk about the M2 money shift for Bitcoin. And as you can see, Bitcoin has some catching up to do. So better pick up the pace, Bitcoin. We need to reach these 160k levels or so in, let's say, 3 months or so. And ideally, it would be better for us to reach these types of levels before October, because that would give us a reasonable time frame to actually reach 200k as well. But this whole pattern here is extremely bullish. We had this long forming ascending triangle over here, and we had these nice oscillations in the triangle with this little breakout over here, a retest, and then a confirmed breakout. Now let's look at the S&P versus Bitcoin, and both of them are performing really well right now. So you can't really pick a favorite. Well, yes you can actually, but both of them are considered very high risk asset classes. And technically, you could of course argue that Bitcoin isn't high risk because it's just a volatile asset, but the trend is very clear. But you could also say the same for the S&P because it's a mix of different stocks. Anyway, both of them are relatively high risk asset classes, or at least considered to be, and both of them are moving higher in this mania phase of the bull market. And the interesting thing over here is that the S&P is actually moving higher as of right now, while Bitcoin is still consolidating. So this could actually give us a hint about Bitcoin's future price action as well. Now let's get back to just Bitcoin and let's look at the moving averages. As you can see, we just found support on the 20-day moving average with both of these candles over here. And this is very healthy in a bull market because that's how you want the moving averages to look like, with the 200-day moving average all the way down over here and the 20-day moving average here. And there's also a very nice and wide gap between all of these moving averages, which is what you want to see in the mania phase of the bull market. When looking at the weekly chart, then this candle over here isn't the best looking candle, to be fair, but I don't think it will matter that much. The important thing here is that all of the moving averages are moving to the upside again over here and creating new highs. That's exactly what we wanted to see. There's nothing to worry about when looking at the macro picture. We just finished consolidating here for like half a year, and we have plenty of more room to the upside. I think where we are right now is similar to this phase over here. I think we can actually start moving to the upside again relatively soon without having to wait here for months again and losing our minds. The moon is not really that far away anymore, guys. When looking at the good old Wall Street cheat sheet, then I do believe that we have finally reached the optimism phase over here. So the next phases here will be pretty fun to observe. If you're interested in the Minotaur trading system, then make sure to schedule a free consultation by clicking on the link in the description. It's a no-brainer because the consultation is free. And if you do decide to go for it, then I'll be happy to personally set up your bot. Make sure to subscribe to my personal channel as well, because there's a lot of extra content you're missing out on if you haven't subscribed to that channel as well. My next video will likely be on that channel again. This is Saverio speaking, and as always, thanks for watching.